everybody, it's your man James, Mr. Glenn Treasures, back again with some more video action for you. Today's another jaunt into the annals of comic book history as we find out why it's great. And for those of you new here who don't know what that is, why it's great is where I take a comic from the past that I've enjoyed. I'll tell you why I think it's so great and why you yourself should want to check it out. And so I want to thank you all for joining me here today. And without any other ado, let's get right on into it. And today we're blasting all the way back to 1987. And we're going to be doing a comic with the Big Blue Boy Scout. Yes, that's right. It's Adventures of Superman, number 429. That's going to be our book for today. So as always, we get me off the screen because, as I've always said, it's never about me. And what we're going to do is we're going to bring up the book right now. And there we are, Adventures of Superman number 429 by Marv Wolfman and Jerry Ordway. Again, just a great cover right here. I love this. It's got Superman fighting a big, hulking, monstrous type of character. And then you got the kid who's hanging on to Superman. Is he helping him? Is he hurting him? What's going on here? Right from Jump Street, you got, just the whole aspect of just the confusion of the scene. And I always love Jerry Ordway's art. I love how he does like little things like here in the snow with the indentations. I love that. He's always been a very detailed artist. I've always liked it. To me, Ordway is one of the premier Superman artists of the era. Probably the artist I will always think of most when I think of Superman is Jerry Ordway, and I just love the coloring here. I love the highlights on Superman. I love the action-oriented scene here with chaos erupting. And why is that? Well, let's get and pull back this cover, and we'll find out why that is. And as the story opens, we got a jetliner here that's going down. And, of course, there is Superman around the scene. Again, a great splash shot right here. A great splash image of Superman, coming to the rescue as always is. You can almost hear, "Here I come to save the day," from like the Mighty Mouse in this scene right here, And he just like Superman's thoughts right here are great. Don't know if that was sabotage or just an accident, but right now I don't care. If I don't do something fast, thousands will die when that jet crashes. See, so right there. And again, look, the zipatone right here, down here on the underside of and you're going to see a lot of this throughout the whole entire issue. Jerry Ordway, very well known for using a lot of zip. Again, like I said, my favorite thing in comics is zipatone. I love it so much. But so here is Superman on the scene, and then we get look at this awesome double-page shot. He comes in, he tries to push the plane out of the way, but he can't do it. It's coming down too fast. The G-forces are too strong, which again is something I like about this era of Superman. He wasn't able to juggle planets like the Silver Age Superman was. This is Superman who is very much limited in his body. He's super strong, but even he can't overcome certain G-forces and things like that. I like that. So he decides he's going to alter the course. And here's an interesting bit right here. He goes, the passenger inside will, he's going to move out to the ocean. He goes, the passenger inside will die, but so many more will live. Hundreds against thousands. I hate making a decision like that. Every life is precious. But some things can't be helped. I have to consider the greater good. Still, so many will die. And then, of course, no, they don't have to die. Not unless I let them. See, so there it is. Like this is extremely, this is Superman. He's always, finding a way. He's looking at the situation. It looks like there's no way to stop, certain death for at least somebody, and yet he's not going to give up. I love that shot right here of his face. Look at that look on his face right there. It's just pure determination. And again, I love the splashdown scene here. I love all this right in here, all this spottiness that Ordway gets in. It truly looks like the spray when something hits the water. I like that. Very, very well done. Very well done. He of course saves the day, and so he goes, thank God, there's not more I can do. So he decides to head off. And as he does, we transition to a building with some very strange characters. Now, this is a group known as the Circle. And if you're reading the story at the time, these are like beings who were here on Earth even before man was. And yet they decided to hide themselves from man to try to sort of live in companionship with him. But they've decided now that they can no longer do that, and now they're going to take their rightful place as the rulers of Earth. And the only fly in the ointment, so to speak, is Superman, because they're wondering if he is one of them or not. But in a previous issue that they list right down here, one of their members died trying to find out if Superman was, and so now they've decided they no longer care if Superman is a member of the circle. They're going to eliminate him because he is a threat. And here we come into our character here who's going to do that. He goes, I must. The circle depends on me as it depends on all of us. We have remained hidden from the suspicious eyes of man for too long. The time is upon us. Our presence on this world of our birth must now be revealed. I will do what must be done. And he geared, again, classic. I love that classic gearing up situation. I will be the first to reveal the true measure of our strength. For humankind, I'm no longer Stula. I am Concussion. And so here's the guy who's going to go out and he's going to kill Superman because a member of the circle died trying to find out if Superman was a member of their group. And you can see, they decided it's agreed. And so they mask themselves up. We will be like them and victory will be ours. And so you can see these beings are very, very, very powerful and, very much a threat. But then we cut back. Here's Superman getting home after a hard day's work. He's tired. He says he probably should take a vacation on a beach somewhere. But since, it sounds good, but that's probably why he won't do it. And then he hears the door. I love this shot here of the quick change from Superman to Clark Kent. And it's Cat Grant at the door. And she decides, hey, you look tired. And she says, just without even asking him, she just starts tossing stuff in a suitcase. You're going on a vacation. I'm going to take you away for a 3-day weekend. We're going to hit the slopes. We're going to have some fun. We're going to, and you see like, but, just totally flabbergasted that she's just coming in and just like taking over his life basically. And so they head out to the mountains and he decides, it's probably not a bad idea. It's just, it's not exactly what I was thinking. This place isn't a beach, but I think I'm going to like this place. And of course, he's always the gentleman, He goes, ta-da, our suite. He goes, my bedroom's that one, isn't it? And he goes, you're going to be one hell of a tough student, aren't you? Because she's trying to get him to loosen up, and here he is. He's still being, very much the Clark Kent that we all know. So they go out at night, and they're talking. And this is a great sequence right here. So they're talking about the stars and how beautiful they look. And he goes, they're warm, filled with worlds, filled with life. Each one different, special, unique, ready to touch and walk upon. Welcome us. Not afraid of us, wanting to know us, actually. And I just love that. And I love the coloring, with the blue. So that it's outside and it's colder. And so they use the blue. I like that. It's a very nice touch. And this is when it starts to get a little heavy. He tells her, like, he says, you sound like you've been there. And he goes, I have, because Superman has. But I mean, like, we all have, like, as children. And then just as things are heating up, they get cooled off. by a bunch of people slooshing by. And so they decide they're going to go to dinner. They go out to dinner and she starts talking to him, about, you're more of a gentleman than in the truest sense of the word that I've ever known, but you're the gentlest man I've ever known, Clark. Gentle without being weak, gentle because that's inside you. Give me a word, handsome, and I could fall real bad. So she could see she's really pushing the charm on our boy here, and he's I like you very much, but that's just then a news article comes on about a guy named Morgan, who is being investigated by the government for having ties to crime and drugs in his movie business, and it turns out that Kat knows him. And how does she know him? Well, we were lovers for about 2 years, but I haven't seen him in 5 years now. And so he thinks she's upset about seeing him in trouble. It's like, no, it's not him I care about. It's his son, Adam, my son. And so now we learn the secret of Cat Grant that we didn't know before, is that she has a son from a relationship with a guy. And then she goes into the story of how, like, she after they broke up, she started dating a bunch of actors because that's what she did. And he used that against her by getting the guys to corroborate with him that she's just a flighty, sort of like happy-go-lucky type who doesn't take anything seriously, and she would be an unfit mother. And so now, because of that, she cannot see her own son. In the end, Cat Grant, girl reporter, was deemed an unfit mother. I lost Adam. Just to tighten the screw a little more, the court ruled I couldn't see Adam. For 5 miserable years, I haven't seen my own son. And I love, again, look at the expressiveness that Jerry Orway gets. Now, you saw earlier how beautiful Cat Grant looks. And that here you can see with the way he uses the shadowing and the technique here of the zipatone on the face, he kind of almost like ages her a little bit, and you see that the hardness of the life she's actually led. You know, she's not the happy-go-lucky person we saw at the start when she was, you know, sort of bossing Clark around to go on a vacation. This is who Cat Grant really is. This is the person inside that she tries so hard to hide behind a party girl shell. And so he decides, I'm going to do something. Cat said Morgan probably wasn't involved with the mob while they were together. If I can prove his connection with the organization, maybe what? I don't know. I'm not certain what will happen, or even if I could help, you know. And so he goes in to try to figure out, because he wants to help her. And he asks, he goes, you know, she's lived a different life than him, the whole Hollywood scene, but he thinks she's changed. He goes, and am I justifying her mistakes because I like her? Maybe I care more for her than I want to admit. You know, I have to get my own motives straight, whatever they may be. And then, of course, we see Concussion shows up at the end. So now you can see where it's all this stuff is coming to a head. So Superman goes to see the father. And I like the layout on this page right here with the Concussion, him climbing the building to get to Superman. I like that as the scene plays out. He goes in, he starts talking to Morgan. He's, I'm here to talk to you about Cat. And so he sends his son away. And he goes, you know, I've forgotten about her. What does she want? He goes, she wants to see her son. He's like, nope, the courts have already decided, you know, footloose and fancy free. She didn't want to be tied down with a kid, but I wanted him, you know. And again, I love this right here, the shadowing on the faces and stuff here. You know, you got the kid listening in. He tells him, you know, why do you care, Superman? Has she woven her spell on you too? She can be a charming vixen. He goes, I don't know. Why am I here? This is a personal matter. It shouldn't concern me. But it does, because I like Cat, because I think she's changed, or maybe I just hope she has. And so as they're discussing it, he tells him, you know, it's time for you to leave. He goes, don't you think she deserves to meet her? He goes, what do you know about me or my son, or even Catherine Grant, playgirl of the Western Hemisphere? You know, so he's like just really laid into it. And that's when Concussion attacks. You know, for the Superman, the death of Piranha must be avenged with the destruction of his murderer. Of course, we all know he's not the murderer, but that's how these people see it. And then the battle begins, and I love, again, just the expressive. Look at the faces that Jerry Ordway puts. Like you could feel the pain. Like Superman, he could see that you can see he really feels the pain and just the damage that's going on. And Concussion doesn't care anything about innocence being in the middle. You know, he tells them how, like, you may be the lost one of legend for the circle, but we are no longer apart, so we don't care. You're a traitor and you must be dealt with. And then just you can see how powerful this guy really is. He's just tearing everything up. The father ends up being injured. You know, Superman, I have to get him to a hospital. His left lung is punctured, but the kid is freaking out. You know, don't touch him, get away from him. He thinks Superman is just as bad, if not worse, than Concussion is. And, you know, Superman, Adam, I came here to help. You know, and then that's when Concussion attacks. He goes, my fist can shatter anything they touch, Superman, even you. Again, look at that face in this panel right here. I mean, look at that. I mean, you feel the impact. You can the nerves in your own face are feeling the pain that you're seeing Superman in right there. So he just keeps pounding away. Meanwhile, Superman's trying to protect the boy. You know, he sees that Adam's hurt. He goes, there's nothing I can do, you know, but I have to do something. And so he, in a desperate move, kicks him off, knocks him out of the building. And again, I love, just look at the details in Ordway, like on the bricks here. Just, you know, like I said, I can't say enough about Jerry Ordway's style. It's so detailed and so well done and so well executed. And you know, you don't see great stuff like this in the books anymore. You don't see great battle scenes like this. So Superman decides to go take advantage of this guy while he's out there, and he goes, I can't hold back. I've got to use all my strength as I've never done before. And you can just right here, just push him right through a statue, just right through it. And then through the wall, and he keeps hitting on him. You can possibly be one of us. You're not strong enough, and takes him down under the water. And then I love this right here. Right here, you see he winds it up, and then bam, just right into the sky. You know, out of the water. That's hilarious. I love it. It's almost comical in the way it's presented, but it's also powerful, and I really like that about it. You know, so the battle just rages. And then, you know, of course, they keep going on. And he says, I have the strength of 10 of your kind. Then I'll even the odds by bending the rules. Superman Superman playing a little bit of not playing fair, boxes the ears, hits him in the face. He even bends the wire on his mask, and then just when like come on, and just when it looks like it's going to keep going on, it's over. And I like that. Superman was really put to the test in this one. He really had to go all out with his power, with his strength to stop this guy. And, again, this is why I like this era of Superman. He's not super powerful where no one can hurt him. You saw he was feeling the pain of those blows. And he sees how strong this guy actually is. This is like a guy who could go toe to toe with him. Even before Doomsday, this guy, Concussion. So he goes back to Morgan and his son to make sure what's going on, and he can to see Adam's still freaking out. He goes, "My God, he's scared of me. I wanted to help him, and he's cringing as if I'm worse than that monster." And so he tried to tell me he's my friend. He goes, "No, you're not. I heard you told my father you want to take me away. Go away." And he goes, I want to take him to the hospital, but I can't with Adam freaking out. So he calls in emergency. He goes, "I wanted to help." He goes, "Now Lord knows what I've done. You'll please hurry." And again, just look at the expressiveness, the face. Look at his face. He feels so bad. He came here trying to help Cat, and instead he's just made a mess of everything, and he doesn't know how to reconcile it. This is kind of funny seeing Superman in a situation like this. Basically a custody battle which doesn't even involve him, and yet he's inserting himself. And it's interesting to see this, because you would think, that this would either be beyond a superhero's purview, or if he was involved, that he would have all the right answers, and yet he doesn't. He only makes matters worse. That's what really gets across here. Wolfman was so perfect in doing this, in showing the characters, vulnerability to his own sense of wanting to help. That's something that a lot of people never think about when they do Superman, and yet here it was done masterfully by Marv Wolfman. So they lock up Concussion, and I like this moment here with the police. And he goes, "Marshall's already petitioning Judge Waters. He'll probably succeed, to get him out." And he goes, "Sometimes I wonder why we even try." And then Superman comes in, because to give in would result in chaos. Somebody's got to keep his finger in the dam. And that's very much, this is again very just a truism of life. We think about things in the world and like how sometimes things that don't seem to go the way they should go. So why do we even bother with trying to achieve justice, trying to achieve fairness, trying to achieve equality? Because somebody has to. Because we can't just throw it all up in the air and go, screw it, it doesn't matter. Because if that's that then you end up with chaos. Again, this is kind of almost like something for our modern times. Again, it's amazing. This is 1987, almost 40 years ago, and yet this is just as relevant now as it was then, if not more so. So then we get the scene of Kat getting to finally see her son. He goes, "I'm your mother," and I've been wanting to see you for so long, but I was scared that I never would. And then just as she's, going to maybe launch into the father, she forgets about that. Says, "I wanted to explain what happened, why I never saw you, but now I don't want to say anything like that. I just want to hold you, and I want to kiss you, and I want to tell you one thing, that I love you." And again, I like the whole scene right here of Superman standing outside. Bill wanted to know why we try. He should be here. And yet, even though he feels that like something good is coming of this, because of his involvement, he still wonders, but unfortunately, I'm beginning to have some doubts. Why did I go to Morgan? I've tried so hard to separate the Clark Kent part of my life from my Superman side. So why did I let them cross over like that? Am I Clark Kent or am I Superman? I've avoided thinking about that in the past, but I can't do that any longer. I need some answers. And I like the way it ends. It's a little ambiguous, but it's like it's ending on a very key moment here for Superman, where he's thinking about like, he's been trying to keep Clark Kent and Superman separate as entities. And yet here in this moment, they kind of came together, and it kind of shows you, the dichotomy that he's trying to achieve, and he can't because of who he is. Clark can't stop being Clark Kent even when he's in a Superman uniform. And that's a very interesting facet, because then you got like characters like Batman, who, we all say Bruce Wayne is sort of the mask and Batman is the reality. Whereas here for Superman, he's seeing that Clark Kent is the reality all the time, whether he's in the suit or not. He's still Clark Kent. He's still that gentle, sensitive, caring, open, wanting to help kind of person. Like I said, the big blue Boy Scout. That's who he is. And whether he's in the suit or he's not, it's always going to be the same. And here he is. He's feeling concerned because he said he's tried so hard to keep those two things separate, and yet he's seeing now that he can't. And I just love that. It shows you the interesting angles of Superman. And one thing Wolfman did in this story that I really liked is how he's well known for his run on New Teen Titans, where he had an ensemble cast of all these great characters who came together and worked together. And, so you had lots of great character interplay. You would think with a character like Superman, that would be difficult because he's just a singular character, but he does that with the supporting cast. Him bringing Cat Grant in the way he did, and then the father of her son. And, that he just brings these characters and he uses the supporting cast of Superman as a way to do the same thing he did on his run on the New Titans, because that's what he does. He's a great character guy. Like when you want great character moments, great character interaction, Marv Wolfman can deliver, and he did that here with the supporting cast. He made Cat Grant a sympathetic character. Up until this point, Cat Grant was, like I said, like the happy-go-lucky party girl. You didn't really see her as a serious character, and yet here you learn that she has a serious side. She has secrets, things that she hasn't told other people. And, it fleshed out her character, and it helped to flesh out Superman's character by showing that Clark Kent and Superman are not so different after all. And I like that. So it's a great story, very, very full of heart, very full of, a lot of great character play. Like I said, the great expressive art of Jerry Ordway. I can't say enough about it. It's just so well done. His renderings of just like a concerned face, or like here with a pained look. He just gets them so well. Like I said, this is why to me he is the premier Superman artist of this era to me. And I just love it. You got lots of great action here with high stakes. Superman getting involved in something that you wouldn't normally expect Superman to be involved in, because he's emotionally involved because of his feelings for Cat, which even there he's not really sure about them. I like you very much, but he's not sure how he really feels about her, but yet he still wants to help her because that's who he is. Again, it's just a great spotlight on the character of Superman, the great character interplay with him and his supporting cast. Just a lot of fun, and I said just a lot of great art, and just this shot right here, Ordway. This is Ordway, in his prime, doing what he does best. I just love that shot of Concussion right there. Just a great story. Superman saving the day as he always does right at the very start. That's great stuff. So I definitely would say Superman number 429. If you like the character of Superman, if you want to get somebody into the character of Superman, this is a great issue to do it. It's not an expensive issue. Probably cost you $4 or $5 for a high grade copy. This is just a great story that just again has a lot of emotion and a lot of character interaction, and yet it doesn't skimp on the action either, as you saw. There was a page after page of just punishing battle. So I mean, that's a great way, a great balance that Wolfman and Ordway get going in this story. And again, the mystery of the circle is in there. You've got Cat Grant's story. You have Superman questioning, who is Clark Kent and who is Superman. There's so many layers in this. It's layered like an onion, and so many great layers. And that's why I think I like The Adventures of Superman, was probably my favorite series at the time, of all the Superman books, because of stories like this one. So definitely check this one out. Adventures of Superman 429 from 1987, by Jerry Ordway and Marv Wolfman. It's a great book. It's one that is a personal favorite of mine, and I definitely can't recommend it strongly enough. If you like the character of Superman, you definitely need to read this book. And there we have it, another one in the books for you guys, of Adventures of Superman number 429. I hope you guys enjoyed checking that out. And, please drop some comments down there below, on what you think. Do you think Ordway's art is all that? Do you think he does some great expressive stuff with some great shading techniques like I do? Or do you think I'm overblowing him a bit? Do you think Marv Wolfman handle the character of Superman well, or do you think he works better with ensemble cast rather than with a solo type character? Let me know what you guys think down below in the comments, because I always like to hear from the people. And also be sure to like, share, subscribe, all that good stuff. Down below in the description, you got all the places you can find me if you want to reach out to me. And I will be back soon with some more stuff, because as always, I'm always working on stuff around here. As you guys know, it's never a unbusy place around the Sequential Treasures HQ here. So, but I will be back with some more stuff soon. And until next time, take care.